very good performance. Our single base model has an 87% accuracy and a 97% sensitivity. And the ensemble model that combines results from the three base models has a 90% accuracy and 98% specificity, rather sensitivity and 82% specificity. So the number one challenge we had was the reliability of the variables. The experts themselves were disagreeing at a high rate, and also the class imbalance. So with those in place, what we're looking at for our future work includes the object detection approach, that is localizing the cervical area with the data set that we developed, and segmentation of cancer lesions in positive images. So this work was funded by the Makerere, and it was a collaborative work of researchers from the Makoni Lab, the AI Lab, and the Uganda Cancer Institute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben, for your presentation on cervical cancer. We're going to have our last presentation for the day. Alvin, where's Alvin? Okay, thank you. So Alvin is going to talk about the automated screening of prostate cancer from multiparametric MRI sequences. The work is jointly done with Makerere. Alvin, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Joyce. My name is Alvin Chimboa, and I'm pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering here at Makerere University, and I'm in my final year. I'll be presenting our ongoing research on automated screening of prostate cancer from multiparametric MRI sequences. Now, prostate cancer is the second leading cause of death, second leading cause of cancer-related deaths among men globally, and Uganda happens to have the highest mortality rate of prostate cancer in East Africa. Now, magnetic resonance imaging, commonly known as MRI, has evolved to be an integral component in the diagnosis, risk stratification, targeting, and staging of prostate cancer. This is due to its various advantages, such as it's a non-invasive procedure in that no instruments are inserted into the body. It is safe since it doesn't produce ionizing radiation. It also added contrast information, which allows to better differentiate tissues and organs in the body. It also captures motion information, and this is very helpful in the targeting and directing of radiotherapy. And further, it allows for post-treatment outcome analysis to assess the biologic effect of the radiation on the patient. Now, the use of the interpretation of multiparametric MRI is guided by the prostate imaging reporting and data system, commonly known as PIRADS, and radiologists use this system to report on how likely a suspicious area is a clinically significant cancer. And they assign a PIRAD score, and we can see that the PIRAD scores range from 1, which indicates a very low likelihood of cancer being present, and the PIRADS 5, which indicates a very high likelihood of cancer being present. However, the interpretation of multiparametric MRI requires a very high level of expertise since the radiologist has to look at multiple images from different sequences before coming up with a report and a conclusion for a given patient. And it also exhibits inter- and intra-observer variability, as we've seen, that the same radiologist can give you a different report for the same patient looked at different times. And different radiologists can give you different reports for the same patient at the same time. So this limits consistency. Also, MRI is limited by the technical challenges such as image distortion and motion artifacts. And this process, these pose a very big challenge to low-income and middle-income settings For example, Uganda, where there are very few expert radiologists. Now, to address these challenges, approaches based on image analysis have been proposed, and there is a lot of research out there on approaches that aim to automatically segment, localize, and classify prostate tumors. For instance, in this approach by call, we see that they segment the prostate into 3 regions, whereby the transitional zone in light blue, the peripheral zone in yellow, and the tumor in brown are clearly segmented. And then what a radiologist would do is to look at the tumor and assess its risk and then write a report. Other approaches would require an expert radiologist to manually segment the prostate into the different regions and tumors, and then that information is used to train models that will classify and assign a severity score on the cancers. And this is very challenging because for a single patient in an MRI study, very, very many images will be collected, and it will be very tedious for an expert radiologist, and we have very few of them, to manually segment the prostate and the lesions in each and every image for just a single patient. And now these approaches become very limited and non-feasible in settings such as Uganda. And almost all these approaches have been trained and evaluated on non-African data sets, and this can introduce great bias in their deployment for settings such as Uganda. Therefore, we aimed to develop a machine learning framework that could automatically classify prostate cancer from multiparametric MRI image sequences with minimal expert radiologist input. And this would reduce the number of repeat biopsies and also improve the expert and non-expert radiologists' performance and consistency. Now, most of the prostate cancers are observed in the peripheral zone, and therefore we choose 2 imaging sequences from the MRI sequences. That is the high B-value DWI image sequence and the ADC image sequence. And these 2 are key in detecting prostate cancer in the peripheral zone of the prostate gland. And the first step in our approach is to crop out the prostate in all the images, and we do this automatically, whereby we ensure that the prostate remains captured from the first image to the last image, and then we fuse these 2 images. For example, we fuse the first image on your left. We fuse the first image of the high B value DWI together with the ADC image, and that first image contains the apex of the gland, and then the last 2 images are also fused as shown, and these have the base of the prostate. Now our model is illustrated as shown, where the fusion of the 15 images is done on the left, and then the data is passed through a time-distributed convolutional neural network, and this looks at the independent images and extracts out information. So we pass in 15 images, as you can see, from each sequence, fuse them, and then those 15 fused images pass through that time-distributed convolutional network, and then features are extracted from each image individually, and then we pass those features through the convolutional LSTM in purple, whereby this takes into account all the information right from the apex to the gland to the base of the prostate. And then finally, the last layers use this information to classify whether the cancer, whether there is clinically significant cancer or not. We train our model using the Adam optimizer, And the data set and the data we use in our model is obtained from the patient reports and the patient MRI images. So these reports are de-identified to ensure privacy of the patients, and they are given to us by our collaborators at Makerere. And so the patient reports contain findings, and these findings are written by an expert radiologist who look at the MRI images for a given patient and assign a PIRAD score in the conclusion, as we can see circled here. So a cancer would look like a bright feature in the DWI image and a low intensity feature in the ADC. So for each patient, we obtain the PIRAD score from the report and categorize the patients into two categories, where category 1 has patients with PIRAD scores of 1 and 2. Category 1 has patients with PIRAD score 4 and 5. So in total, we obtained 314 data points obtained from 66 patients. And here we illustrate how we obtain our data points. For each patient, we combine a DWI sequence together with the ADC sequence, and we obtain 15 fused images, which we put in the train set, ensuring that data from a given patient is either used for testing or training, and no mixing. So our model so far has achieved a sensitivity of 88% and a selectivity of 50%, and so far this indicates that our model has the ability to detect patients with prostate cancer, and this can also be seen in the matrix on the left, in the bottom left corner, whereby in that corner, the dark purple, we have patients with cancer and are predicted to also be having cancer. Now, in conclusion, we are developing a machine learning framework that can automatically classify prostate cancer from multiparametric MRI with minimal radiologist intervention, and it can work with low resolution MRI images collected from 1.5T MRI scanners. Now, our future work, we are currently collecting more data to train and evaluate the model in order to achieve better specificity and improve on our accuracy. We are also looking forward to including equivocal cases, that's PIRAD 3. These are not clear whether they are suspicious or not, and we are also looking forward to integrating information from other sequences, such as the T2-weighted and the DCE. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much for listening to me, and thank our funders, the government of Uganda, through Makerere University Research and Innovations Fund, and also thank our clinical collaborators at Ernest Cook Ultrasound Research and Education Institute. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Alvin, and thanks to all the presenters. It has really been great. Thank you so much for breaking down the AI for us to understand, especially for the domain that's not from AI. So we appreciate all the presenters from morning up to now. Since we are really running beyond schedule, I will just, keep it open for 2 questions. If people have any 2 questions for the presenters, please feel free to raise your hand. Now is the moment. Jerry, I think we need a microphone. I see 1 hand. I need just 2 hands. I would prefer a female, gender balance. A female in the audience, you have a question, feel free to lift your hand up and ask a question. As the females prepare, we take our time, we prepare, we think about things. Yeah. We can start with the first question. There's a female. Oh, yes, Great, we are coming to you.
Thank you, our presenters. Once again, I'm Rutaya Edward from Biomedical Engineering Year 4. I would like to know whether these teams that are carrying out the researches in AI have included their biomedical engineers in their research. Because, you know, when you create systems, of course you're creating systems for health, but as the biomedical engineer, we stand between you, the creators or the designers, and the medicine people or the clinicians. So after you creating the models, you bring them to the health facilities, of which we shall be there interacting with these systems. So we, the biomedical engineers, also have to be part of the teams that are carrying out the research, or that are carrying out carrying out this research, so such that just in case these systems are brought in health systems or at the healthcare facility, we shall be also in touch. We know about the systems. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Where's the mic? Yes. Any of the presenters, please feel free to answer. Biomedical engineers, then we'll go to Betty last. So first go to that corner, then come back to Betty. Alvin, Philip, have you involved biomedical engineers? I don't see Alvin and Philip. Did you disappear after presenting? Yes. Feel free to give us a response.
Thank you so much for that question. Currently, we have our work, we are working together with the Ernest Cook Ultrasound and Research Institute, together with Professor Kawoya and his an expert radiologist. So I think we are getting guidance from the best, but I'm also of the view that we needed more biomedical engineers to jump on board, and that's why I was also very happy for this symposium, because at least now we have their attention, and then we can see how we can work together with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the response. That's a good one. So we are getting there. That's the response that we can give. Yes, there's a lady behind you there who had a question. Maybe it would be good
Okay,
to introduce
thank you.
yourself so that we know who you are.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Maureen Tumwekwase, and I'm a final year student of electrical engineering. I'll thank all the presenters of today. However, when I was looking at all their limitations, most of them, they were on the side of a quantity of data and quality. So I don't know, I would like to know from these presenters, what step have they taken in collaboration with the research institutes that are around, maybe GAMSO? So how are you looking at that to get quality data? And I think it's really important in improving our research and innovations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Brenda or Ben, feel free to tackle that question. I hope you are listening. It's a data issue that everyone else has raised. How can we overcome that problem? So let's have a response from one of them.
Okay, thanks, Maureen, for that question. Yeah, from our findings, we found that there was a lot of work that needs to be done about the data we're working with. So our approach in trying to do away with this challenge is by presenting our results to the people we partnered with in the data collection and curation of the entire data set. So that's our approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to add that that problem you raise is a very important issue, but we are also intentional to keep increasing the data sets as the people in the healthcare domain keep screening patients. We are intentional on keeping the collaboration going. So this is not just a one-off of We've obtained one data set, we've trained a model, and that's the end of the world. But it's a continuing collaboration such that we can keep continuing to collect more data and balance out those classes that we said had issues. And yeah, it's not like we have a definite answer, but it's an ongoing process that we also are very aware about. So thanks for that question. Betty, up here, had a question. And then we'll end with the gentleman. Two ladies, two males, and then we end. If it is very short, maybe. Okay, let's start with Betty.
Thank you so much. My name is Betty Mirembe, Telecom Engineering, Makerere University, awaiting graduation in May. My concern again is about data. I realize that most of the presenters speak about using open source data to train their models, looking at situations where we are developing solutions, we are bringing it to our local context, but we are still using open source data, which belongs, for instance, to, people are speaking about even continents, different continents, not Africa. So what implication does that have on the kind of models we are building that are going to be later deployed on machines that are being used in Uganda? I don't know if because of different continents, the anatomy may differ. I know, for instance, for the lungs, for a case of maybe COVID healthy, COVID TB, I'm sure we may have, because of different weather conditions, they may differ. But also I seek to understand, especially from, I think she was called Brenda, whether this also affects breast cancer, because largely your data you used was foreign data, and where that leaves us if you're going to have this solution used in Uganda.
Thank you. Let me take the mic to Brenda. Brenda, I think this is a question for you, and you might have a response for us.
Yes, thank you for the question. In our research, there was a performance comparison of the training models that were used when trained on only the public data, and also the model that was trained on a mixed data that included data that was from here. So when the model was only trained on public data and tested on public data, yes, results that we acquired, the model did not generalize well in our local context. So that is why we included some of the images that we acquired from Makerere in the training process, and that is when we got a better accuracy than when we tested our model only, when we tested our images from Makerere on the model that was only trained from public data. Thank you.
Do you want to add something? Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much for that question, Betty. And so the beauty with machine learning and AI, it has the concept of transfer learning. So it doesn't matter where you trained your model, but as long as before you, let's say, deploy your model, you make sure you retrain it on your local data set, there is no problem with that. Since the model can learn from all data from all over the world, the only thing you have to be sure of is that you are validating it and testing it on your local data set. If you train it on international data, validate it on your local data, and it performs well, because all it's learning are features from all those other images. Let's say it's picking out edges in the images, it's picking out circles. Those are universal, so the model can use that information to better come and deploy it, for example, in your local context, by you retraining, fine-tuning your model on your local data set. And that can be seen with VGG16, which was trained on ImageNet, but people are using it here on local data. fine-tuning it, and it's giving excellent results. So I think the problem should be on the fine-tuning. If it's fine-tuned on our local data, then I think that model is customized for the local context. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Any other question? Yes, please go ahead.
I thank everyone for this opportunity. I'm Sabli Variga Nashavin, doing biomedical engineering in my final year. My question goes to all, actually, the people who have presented for today. As any, for the training, testing, and deployment processes, has any of them had all that being performed on their machines, personal machines, without using the Google collaboration tools? And if any has actually succeeded to do all that using their personal machines, they could actually give us a clarity of the technical specs of the machine. Thank you.
Just beg your pardon on the question, please. Specific.
My question was, during the training, testing, and inferencing of your whatever models you're trying to come up with, has any of you tried to do all that using their personal machines without using Google Colab, as you all know, or Google collaboration tools? And if any of you has actually done it, you could specify on the technical specs of the machine you're using.
Mainly, it has been, especially when we carrying out the training, we've been using GPU machines, GPU-enabled machines. But again, most of it has been actually on the cloud. Yes.
Okay, one final question.
Thank you so much. I think I introduced myself earlier. I'm Boa Isaac, biomedical engineering, 4th year. Yeah, this has been so great for the presenters. It has been really interesting. But I think my question was tackled by Betty. She mentioned it. I was so much interested in local data set. So maybe I'll just give a recommendation that during the presentation, I had Nixon Okilia had almost similar solution as Philip. I don't know if these guys are collaborating. I don't know. This would be very good for them to come up with a better solution or a good model at the end of the day, if they can bring up the heads together. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, with the Philip and Nixon they'll take that comment into consideration. Yeah, thank you very much. So thank you very much to everyone for being an active audience. But we need to close. Yeah, and to close, I would like to invite Dr. Jonathan Serugunda, who's the head of Department of Electrical Engineering in SEDAT. Dr. Jonathan, thank you for being with us, and you're welcome to close the workshop. Together with Dr. Andrew. I see he's escorting you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joyce Navende. So before I go up to give my closing remarks, I would like us to have a group photo, especially those people who presented. And of course, our PI is here. So please come forward and we have a group photo. Everyone who presented, it was your day to shine and to create awareness for AI in health. So please come forward. Okay, thank you. So I think we should go up. Yes. Okay, good afternoon to all of you. My job is really the easy part. Basically to say thank you for coming and probably send you off. So my job is really an easy one. But I will also want to probably inspire a few people here and there. And probably we have some takeaway points. One, I'm the acting head for electrical and computer engineering, and we host the biomedical engineering students throughout their 4 years. So, biomedical engineering students, in case you want to get interested in this research, 2 of the PIs are in our department. We have Dr. Cosmas Makerere and Dr. Andrew Katumba. So please get in touch. And in case you feel they are not approachable, you've seen some of our researchers, please get in touch with them so that they can connect you or tell you what they're doing and interest you in their work. I'm really happy to be here mainly because I always heard of the AI lab, but I've also seen the birth of the Makoni lab at SEDAT through the leadership of especially Dr. Katumba, but also with Dr. Cosmas. So thank you so much for getting in touch with the AI lab. Thank you so much for helping Makoni lab grow. It's a big achievement. Okay? So first I would like to express my gratitude to a number of people and organizations. One, we had a very good panel session. It was really brilliant. And it had a diverse set of people, which is really important. I would like to thank our university administration, the government of Uganda through the funds that they provide through RIF, the grants body that has been recently established, and our overseas partners. We have so many. Without their funds, this wouldn't have been really possible. I would like to express my gratitude as well to the leadership of the AI lab and Makoni lab. You might think that I'm overdoing it, but I would like to have Dr. Joyce Nakatumba Nabende and Dr. Andrew Katumba come forward here. They should take probably another picture, the two of them. This is the first AI symposium in health that we've had in the country, by the way. Not only at Makerere, but in the country. Please come here for more recognition. This is a huge step. You know how people are like when you're watching the Grammys or when you're watching the Oscars, people take a picture with something in the background. So seriously, this is a huge achievement for us. Okay? Are we done? Okay, thank you so much. You can sit here. Thank you. I thought the discussions today were excellent. How many of you didn't think so? I really thought we had excellent discussions and excellent presentations. People say that engineers, scientists cannot present their work. I felt that the presentations were excellent. The only bit that was missing, that I'm going to really emphasize, and I think it was kind of also mentioned in the earlier session, is that next step to scaling up the work or even leading it to commercialization. Probably we'll need to pitch that in the next AI symposium on health. Yeah. I would like to express my gratitude to the organizing committee. We have several people from the Makerere lab and several people from the AI lab. You've done a wonderful job. People may not know this, but putting up a symposium is not an easy task. All the way from making sure that this happens, but also at the registration desk, running up and down, making sure that everything is happening. And also, I love food, giving us the food. It was really a good job that you guys have done. So, people have talked about coming up with relevant curriculum, and I think that's something that we might need to really do. But also we need to notice that our systems are slow. So I encourage these labs to push this agenda, because without you, the leadership might not really be willing to make that change. We have also a cultural issue that we need to deal with. Our healthcare system, the way they do their things is sometimes slow. They may not be willing to change. Sometimes the regulatory framework, which is not really allowing them to do that. But as I think it was Professor Kawoya, he also talked about attitude. And we also had a question from, I think, one of our MDs here, one of the doctors, who seemed reluctant to have probably AI within his environment, or very unsure of how AI is being used in within the environment. So this symposium is one way of publicizing and reporting what we do, creating that awareness, but also it is a way of accountability and trying to show transparency in terms of our results, the challenges we are meeting as researchers, and probably another way of calling for more collaboration. So I'm really happy that this multidisciplinary kind of piece of work, you have showed that we are collaborating with the required partners. What we need to do is to get more partners on board so that we can springboard this to something a lot bigger. But also as well, I wish Professor Kawaya was still here. I wanted to ask him to allow one of our outputs to be piloted, not as something that is official, but something as a second option that the doctor can use. So as we are waiting for approvals, let these systems be deployed as we try to find ways of improving them and ways of scaling them up. Because if we have more doctors appreciate what we can do and the outputs, I think this can be very helpful. We need to also pitch the fact that costs will significantly reduce. We know hospitals have challenges of infrastructure. I remember Dr. John Black was talking about human resource capacity lacking, people who are proficient with basic IT and the like. Someone was talking about data sets and the like, but we need to believe that these challenges can be overcome. And we need to start so that we create a situation where we have investment. Now, my request to the organizers of this conference symposium is this. One, let us create a book of abstracts. It might not show the details, but let this work be out there so that there is visibility of what we can do at this point in time. So that Ben Wycliffe is known when I Google Ben Wycliffe, I can see his work. And then probably we can expand on this and also publish it, or we can also create our own journal at Makerere University, which can be a journal that is a go-to journal for the region and even globally. So that could be one way of extending this. The other way of extending this is, can we do this every other year? Let's explore avenues of doing this every other year for continuity, for growth. The biomedical students of ours who were complaining, they will know they have a chance to take part in research and come here to share their findings. So again, thank you so much for attending this wonderful symposium. Thank you to our PIs, Dr. Cosmas, Dr. Andrew, and Dr. Joyce. This is the first of its kind in the country, and I hope you have learned something, and you're going to push yourselves to not only come up with a new solution, but a solution that you are going to have that passion to push for further scaling up and for commercialization. Thank you so much. And thank you again. The symposium is closed.
No, it's closed.
Closed, yeah? So the presenters are still around for a few minutes if you have some questions about the posters and so on. So you can go ahead and interact with them. We'll be out of your way, so you can ask them whatever you want. Have a good rest of your evening and the weekend, I guess. Cheers.